Hello everyone and welcome to a review of a movie that I have a very close connection to because this is a movie that from a very young age I watched almost all the fucking time. So today we're going to be talking about a really obscure movie. This is an oldie. This is like a really old one. This was on VHS, which means that a lot of people are going to instantly be like turned off from this movie and not want to watch it. And I get that. But if you hear me out and you get past the bad shit, there is a gem here. There is a gem. It's just buried in mud, alright? Which is why we're here to talk about this. This isn't just because I watched this movie a lot as a kid. That's like the main reason. But also after watching through this movie again, there's a lot more here than I thought that there was. I mean, when I was younger, basically I watched this movie like almost all the time, but I never really knew anything about it. And as a kid, I never watched very much Norse mythology, so I was completely out of the loop for any of this stuff. But now, after doing a lot more research and playing games like God of War Ragnarok, this all makes a lot more sense, you know? And of course, we're talking about ERIK the Viking. That's right, this is a 89, I think, movie? Yeah, 89. Made by Terry Jones, the creator of the book of the same name that he made for his son, alongside another book series that he made for his daughter about a different mythology, I'm pretty sure. But the point is, this is a movie made, like, for his son, basically. And speaking of which, there is actually two versions of this movie. There's the normal one, and then there's the director's son's cut, which we will talk about later on. But before we talk about any of that, we have to talk about the plot. So to start this movie off, we open up to a burning village, and this burning village is being pillaged by our main character, ERIK the Viking. And this section kind of blows, I'm not gonna lie. This is like one of the worst openings that I've ever seen, and if I didn't see this movie beforehand as a kid, I don't think I would have sat through this intro. Because realistically, this is probably one of the worst intros I think I've ever seen to a movie. There is a 5-minute, like actually 5-minute bit, I guess is what you can call it, about ERIK pillaging and plundering this village, but also, I can't say the word on YouTube, a girl, but he doesn't want to, and she's like, oh, you've never done this, have you? And he's like, oh, of course I have, what are you talking about? And it's like, the weirdest, cringiest opening I've seen in a long time. And I don't mean cringy in the sense that everyone means it now. I mean it is hard to watch because it feels really uncomfortable and it makes me actually physically cringe. And the only reason that I was able to sit through this scene during this watch is because I've seen this movie as a kid, so I knew that there was a lot more to it, but I didn't remember it opening like this. But moving on past that, ERIK accidentally kills this girl, even though he really likes this girl. He's talking about a bunch of stuff with her, and she's like, well, like, why are you doing this if you don't want to? And he's like, that's a good question. And then he accidentally kills her because a bunch of people come in and he doesn't want to, like, seem soft or whatever. And then we cut back to his village where everyone is completely drunk and just kind of fucking around, and he's like, damn, this kind of sucks. So he goes outside, he thinks about his life for a little bit, and he's like, man, I really want to change some stuff. So he goes to Freya, the Witch of the Woods, which is played by the person who plays Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. That's right, we have Cusco's poison inside of ERIK the Viking. And that's not the only heavy hitter we got here. We'll touch on more of the actors later on when we actually cover the full plot, but for now I will say the main actor, the one who plays ERIK, is Tim Robbins, who is someone that was in Top Gun, Shawshank Redemption, Tenacious D as the Stranger. I mean, come on, these are heavy hits right now. And maybe not, maybe just for me, especially Tenacious D Stranger. I mean, that's like a weird obscure role, but I love it though. So after talking to Freya, he learns about Ragnarok and how to stop it, and that's exactly what he wants to do. His goal from this point on is to stop Ragnarok, go to Asgard, and save the girl that he accidentally killed. Because he didn't mean to, he was like killing other guys and killed her too. So he gets a crew together. He gets a crew and they're all like, oh, you son of a bitch, I'm in. Because they don't want to look like pussies. That's right. That's the fucking plot. We have All of these Vikings are super satirical. It's a very satire movie. This is basically like the level of satire that Always Sunny has. Like, these are not serious roles at all. Which is why we get people like Snorri the Miserable. The fucking... literally his whole gimmick is that he snores and that he's constantly miserable. And I love that everything is so, like, up front, you know? They have a guy called Thorfinn Skullsplitter, and his whole thing is that he's super big and he likes to fight guys. Like, it's perfect. And that, along with some crazy names like Grinhild Housewife, like, you can tell that these are supposed to be very satirical characters. And even characters like Loki really play it up, you know? Loki is super hateable in this movie. At the beginning, he's trying to convince Kettle Blacksmith, the local blacksmith of the town, to, like, betray ERIK and stop him from stopping Ragnarok, because if Ragnarok stops, so does the need for swords and weapons, and so blacksmithing fails. But in doing so, this is like the most hateable villain I think I've ever seen. I despise Loki in this movie. He is a little weaselly bastard that I want to kick across the room. And I realize now that that's not the second time, this is the second time in a movie review that we've said that we want to kick someone across the room. But it's so deserved. The little light bulb guy and Loki deserve this shit, alright? But besides being a hateable guy in general, he is also just incredibly evil, going to the evil guy's hideout to sell him weapons and tell him about ERIK's plans. The evil guy, of course, being Handoff the Black, who is played by John Cleese, which is like a pretty famous guy. I think he did a lot of Monty Python stuff. But the most notable things for me were Shrek 2 and 3, I think as Prince Charming. I'm not positive on that one. Do not fact check me. Or do. Leave it in the comments. And he was in Over the Garden Wall, which is a personal favorite of mine. I love that show. So it's cool to see him in this as well, because this is like his origins, you know? And that's how it is with everyone in this movie, including ERIK's dad, who is Mickey Rooney. And if you don't know who Mickey Rooney is, he has starred in over 300 movies throughout his life. I think he's dead now, but he was in a ton of movies, including Night at the Museum as that little tiny security guard guy. It's awesome. It's cool to see him here. And just seeing all these heavy hitters, you know, these are some pretty big people, including Thorfinn Skullsplinter being Peppa Pig's daddy pig. That's right. Daddy Pig is Thorfinn Skullsplinter. Really let that one, like, actually sink in. But I'm getting sidetracked. Moving back to the plot, basically they set off at this point to the ocean to go find High Brazil and find the Horn of Resounding, which is this big sounding horn that will bring them to Asgard, awaken the gods, and then bring them home if they blow it 3 times. So that's the goal from this point on. They're leaving on the boat, and then we get some beautiful green screen while they're puking, and I love this shit. I know it looks terrible, but something about these old graphics just hit me hard. I love the style here. And that leads me to the style. This is a 100% when it comes to the visual style of this movie. And I know that a lot of people watching this are gonna be like, what? It looks like trash. And I know, it does. That's like part of the charm to me though. Because a lot of people nowadays, they will go out of their way to get this feeling that this movie gives you with all these like different green screen effects and even the giant sea serpent later. The effects are so like nostalgic and well done, but not well done for now standards, well done for back when standards. So it's like, they are still really, really bad. And if you look at it objectively, it's like, oh yeah, the style's like a 50 because it's not that great. But seeing these set designs and the way that they did everything is so awesome. Even later on, they have like High Brazil sinking underwater, and they show all the set pieces sinking into the water, and it's like, oh man, that's awesome. But again, I'm sidetracked. So, moving back to the plot, they are now on the ocean and they are running away from Halfdan the Black, who is on their ass right now. But instead of fighting them, ERIK is being smart and he's like hiding from them and running away. And that's a thing that we notice about ERIK throughout this entire movie. He's like the only smart Viking here. Everyone else is like, murder your problems. Just kill it. Just stab them. That'll fix it. But ERIK is like, no, let's like be friends with them, or let's be smart about this, or let's run away from the bad guys so we don't die. And in doing so, he does show himself to be a very likable character. And I know that's hard to say when at the beginning of the movie, he is seen almost doing crazy shit to someone, but that whole scene being like completely removed from the movie, he's like a pretty likable person that you really want to root for. And during this fight with the sea serpent, he's like being really smart about it. He takes his pillow that he took with him and he cuts it up and puts the feathers inside of the thing's nose so it sneezes them away. And that's pretty smart, you know, that is a good strat right there. And during this big fight, the boat gets fucked up. So when the boat gets sneezed away to Hy Brasil, because it just shows up at Hy Brasil, it's like sinking. The boat is sinking and everyone is afraid of drowning, so they're like, I'll just kill you and then you kill me and we go to Asgard, right? But before they do that, they take a little nap ski and wake up in the morning at the most beautiful set piece I've seen in an 80s movie. This shit is gorgeous. I love Hy Brasil. And this is personal bias for sure, because I love flowers, I love nature, I love beaches, I love old temples and stuff. So this is like my bread and butter. This is the shit I love to see in movies. We got everyone in these really bright, colorful clothing with flowers in their hair, and I'm like, oh man, I want to live there. I want to do that. And also the juxtaposition, seeing these like Vikings that have only seen darkness and snow in this beautiful bright land covered in flowers and covered in light and happiness, which leads to them seeing the perspective of people who aren't living in Ragnarok and are all really nice to each other and don't kill anyone. Because the whole gimmick of Hy Brasil is everyone gets along, because if anyone dies and any blood is spilt in any way, the entire land sinks and it all goes away. And of course, spoiler alert, Loki sinks it later on, but for now, they're going to this island and talking to all these people and just kind of seeing what it would be like if they weren't fucked up and murdering people. And it's a cool dynamic of like ERIK trying to be nice and trying to fit into these guys' ways, while the rest of the Viking crew is like, chop them into pieces, or like, fuck you guys, we're not nice. And it's pretty neat. I love the dynamics here between the characters. And even just like the king, I know that he's very played up and very cheesy and just like not that good acting wise, but I kind of love it. It's kind of hilarious, especially in this version of the movie when nothing is like cut down. They really draw out the scene where he's like, he's asking them if they want to play music, but he's like, oh, we would love to hear you play. And the king is like, oh, you're just saying that. And it's like so stupid. And it goes on for so long, but it's like funny because of it. And that is one of the biggest problems with this movie, is the pacing. Sometimes it's really, really bad. Sometimes these moments where it's dragging on for so long is like just hard to sit through. Like during the serpent fight, in the original cut, there's like a full 2 minutes of them just like sitting on the boat, looking out into the fog and being like, row the boat now. Like that's like a full 2 minutes right there. And it's crazy. It does kind of suck. Or just like really long establishing shots, or really long shots of them like rowing the boat and stuff. And I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it a lot. I love these like old classic 80s motifs that we don't really see anymore, but I can understand why people don't like it, and I understand why people hate it, because I am very much a person who likes bad things, and I can recognize that. I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is my favorite Sonic game, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for calling that game bad, but I'm not delusional, alright? I love the game, I love it to death. But I'm also not blind, and I can see the issues that we have. And that's the same thing that I feel about this movie here. There's so many issues, so many blaring issues, like the racist Asian slave master on the boat. And I don't mean that it's racist that he's an Asian slave master. I mean the things he's saying are racist. But going back to the plot, ERIK fights off Handolf the Black from Hy Brasil and scares them all away. They give him the horn. Loki sinks the island by stabbing someone and trying to hide the horn's mouthpiece. But the lady that ERIK sleeps with in Hy Brasil, that's like the king's daughter or whatever, she finds the horn piece, so when Hy Brasil sinks, they have both the pieces and they leave. So now back on the ocean, the lady blows the horn with the mouthpiece and the boat begins to fly off the edge of the world. but they end up stopping it with a rope, and they have this whole conflict where they're fighting each other on the boat, and they're like, oh, she's trying to kill us, and Loki's being a cunt, but we gotta go over the boat edge so that we can get to Asgard. So after this whole scuffle, ERIK ends up letting go of the rope that is tied to a rock, keeping them above ground and not flying off the edge, and they end up flying off the edge. Now, looking at all the stars and floating down to Asgard, they get to go to the realm of the gods, where they take a little nap for a little bit. And this really confused me when I was a kid. It really confused me, but during the section where they are struggling on the boat up above, the girl says, don't look over the edge, it'll sap all your energy out. So that's like something that I didn't even hear until watching the director's son's cut, which we'll get to in a little bit. But in doing that, everyone looks off the edge and falls asleep for a little bit, and then they all go inside of Asgard, covered in frost, and they talk to the god. And this is where we find out that the gods are literally children. That's right, 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, whatever they are, they're children. So Isaac? Binding of Isaac? So ERIK goes to Odin, the little tiny kid, and he's like, hey, end Ragnarok and stop everyone from fighting and killing each other. And Odin's like, I bet, but we don't actually control if you guys kill each other. The fuck? Like, we'll stop Ragnarok, but that's on you, dog. And then Eric's like, sick, alright, I'm gonna peace out, but can I bring this dead lady too? And Odin's like, peace out? You never peaced in, buddy, you stuck. And then he brings him to hell. Movie ends, everyone's in hell, everyone's happy, ending of the movie, right? No, that's not the end? You're right, that's not. Basically, this entire movie, there has been a Christian guy, who we haven't mentioned at all, but throughout the entire movie, he's incredibly skeptical of everything that has to do with Asgard or Norse mythology. So, in being this way, he literally cannot see the crazy shit going on around them. The Norse mythology stuff doesn't appear for him. The sea serpent isn't there for him. He doesn't see it, he doesn't hear it, he doesn't feel it even. So throughout this entire movie, he is basically like protected from all of this Norse magic, and at Asgard we can see him just kind of walk through solid doors and shit. So in order for them to get out of Asgard, they have to blow the Horn of Resounding, which is outside of Asgard, inside their boat, and the only person who can get to that boat, because the giant wooden doors are closed, is the Christian guy who doesn't believe in any of the shit, so he doesn't even see Asgard or any of the dead people. And he just walks out the door, just walks through it, which then brings them home and everyone's all happy, except they're not, because Halfdan the Black is at their house holding their children hostage. And he gives them an ultimatum. He says, put down your weapons or we kill the children. And obviously everyone knows that they're going to kill the children anyway, but ERIK has just been told by the gods, yeah, you have to break the cycle of violence. No one else can do that shit for you. So in this moment, ERIK throws down his sword, and he's like, yeah, fuck it. We're not gonna fight anymore. And he's like, alright, kill the kids now. And then the boat that the Christian is on comes and kills them by landing on them. And that's the end of the movie. The sun rises, they all look off into the sunset, and everyone's all happy. And besides a little bit of a messy plot and some bad pacing and some really outdated jokes that are not funny at all and just awful, the movie is pretty good overall, and I think it really wraps itself up pretty nicely. I mean, having the boat just crush Halfdan the Black is a little bit like, oh, let's just very conveniently kill this guy, but it's also kind of works. It kind of works well. But with that being said, how would I rate this movie? I think the comedy is pretty good. Even though the terrible jokes at the beginning and some of the terrible jokes throughout the movie are there, it's just like one of those things where you gotta ignore it. Like when you watch the old It TV show, there's definitely some sexist stuff you gotta ignore during that TV show. But besides some stuff like that, I think they really do nail a lot of things in this movie. Like there's some pretty funny bits, like ERIK using an invisible cloak that only works on one person. on an entire crowd of people. So you get this bit where he's like, oh, I'm invisible, you can't see me, but everyone's just like confused because they can see him and they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And they have a lot of these very classical Monty Python-esque jokes, which is this is a very Monty Python movie. I think most of the cast is people that did Monty Python shows and movies and music and all that stuff, so it's really cool to see. But with this Monty Python crew, you also get some Monty Python-ass jokes, and that's kind of what I love about this movie. There's a lot of really funny bits to me that either aren't supposed to be funny or are just so naturally funny that they hit really well. And apparently a lot of people don't agree with me at all, because there's so many reviews of this movie that are like, oh, it's trash, it's awful, it's terrible. 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. We got Chris saying that it's a stillborn comedy. And we got Roger Ebert calling it an utterly worthless exercise in waste and wretched excess. That's right. He called this movie just a complete disaster, basically. And I get it, but I also disagree, because there's a lot of stuff that I like about this movie, and there's a lot of jokes that did hit hard for me. And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me liking stupid things that are bad, but hey, if you like stupid things that are bad, you'll probably love this movie. For me, this movie is like a The Room situation. Well, no, okay, I don't know if I would even say that, because they intentionally made the movie the way that it is, but it has that same type of humor that The Room has, you know? Where it's like almost funny on accident, is what it feels like. Even though it's not, and it's just these characters moving about their day or whatever, but it doesn't feel like the characters are trying to be quirky and trying to make jokes. It feels like the jokes are just happening. Like early on, Thorfinn Skullsplinter and Sven the Berserker are fighting each other, and they're like fighting because Thorfinn Skullsplinter is making fun of Sven's dead dad, saying that he didn't make it in Asgard because he died of old age. And during this bit, they have this whole like argument, and it just feels so natural, and it is very comedic because of that. It's literally just them being like, he said my dad's not in Asgard. Yeah, that's right, he fucking died of old age, bitch. And they're like fighting each other. It feels so natural, and it like fits so well to the scene. And stuff like that works really well in this movie. Like when ERIK is explaining that they're all about to leave, and he's like, don't be sad, even if we get torn limb from limb and we die to demons, and like the whole crowd is like, oh, every time he says something. It's pretty good, and it's not like intentionally him being funny and like trying to make a joke. It's just happening around him, which is like my favorite type of humor. And I think that's why this works so well. I love when they're not trying to be funny on purpose. Like it's not some Marvel Avengers shit where Tony Stark is like, wow, that's kind of crazy, right? You know? It reminds me a lot of very British comedy, because usually that's kind of like the thing with British comedy, is they don't really make jokes like normal American jokes and stuff. And I love that. It's like Shaun of the Dead, which is like my favorite zombie movie, where they're just like having funny things happen. It's not like they made the joke on purpose, they just did. And that's what I love. And that's what I like about this movie's jokes, even though it has some really problematic jokes. Like there's the whole thing at the beginning where ERIK's doing all the crazy shit, and there's like the bit with the Christian guy, which I could see people getting offended by, and stuff like the racist slave master, and ERIK being like super insecure about the girl that he's sleeping with other men, and like, you know, just very, very like primitive humor. But if you can ignore those moments and you can get past those sections, there is some really good shit here that I love. Even just the style alone, just the visuals, like the screenshots of this movie are so cool looking. And I'm pretty sure that's just me loving like old digital graphics and old practical effects and stuff, but I do. Especially like in Asgard, you can see their dead family members, and the practical effects for some of these guys are crazy. Even though you only see them for like 5 seconds, they had this guy just completely cut in half, even though he's only on screen for like actually 8 seconds total. It's crazy, but they put in so much effort and they put in so much work, and I love it. Which leads me to the director's son's cut, which cut out a lot of that work. All right, let me talk about it. The director's son's cut has a lot of improvements to this movie. The original movie is 140 minutes, director's cut is 96, so it takes out a ton, alright? But the stuff that it takes out is either really, really good for them to take out, or really, really bad. It's very polarizing for me, because after watching both of these back to back, the director's son's cut cuts out gross stuff, like the introduction, where he's talking about all that crazy shit, but it also cuts out a ton of context. Like, even though the introduction is terrible, and I don't like it, and I skip it every time I watch the movie now, the introduction does give you information about ERIK that you don't really get otherwise, and in the director's son's cut, you see him hallucinating the girl that he killed, and you don't know who she is at all. That entire beginning scene is cut out, so it just looks like he's hallucinating a random girl that you've never seen before, and you don't know any of the connection to her or why she's making ERIK question stuff or why ERIK is questioning stuff. Like, you just don't get that. But the trade-off is like almost worth it, so it's very polarizing for me. It's a very hard situation where I'm like, I like that it's gone, but I don't like that it's gone because it takes away context, but I like that it's gone because it was gross and not okay, but I don't like that it's gone because it takes away the story a little bit. And even just with bits, like the one where ERIK is invisible on the boat attacking Halfton the Black, and he's not actually invisible, but he keeps pretending he is, they cut out a lot of that bit in the director's son's cut, and it feels a lot less punchy, you know? It doesn't hit the same when it's not there for as long. Because part of what makes that bit so funny is really just stewing in it and seeing him, like, act like such a fool, even though everyone can see everything he's doing and stuff. It's hilarious. And one of the funniest parts that they kind of cut out during the director's son's cut is watching the big enemies, these big bad guys with like deer skulls on their face, be just completely thrown off by ERIK. Because as they say to Halfton the Black, no one ever tries to fight them because they're all scared of them. So they're like not ready for people to fight them at all. And it's hilarious. I love that part of that bit. That's so funny. But you miss a little bit of this context with the director's son's cut. And I think overall the pacing does end up being a little bit better, because the pacing is a problem in this movie. We get like 5-minute shots of them doing like one thing. And it's like, oh my god, can we speed it up a little bit? Even the shots of them doing a bit are sometimes really played out. Like the bit in Hy Brasil where they're trying to play music, but it's awful. That bit falls flat because of how long it takes, and because it does just genuinely sound awful, that it's not funny, it's just like, oh, that sounds bad, and it hurts my ears. Wow, great, cool. But if you can ignore this stuff, and you can get through this stuff, I think the original version is better. But the director's son's cut takes all that work of ignoring these things, and all that work of like, oh, I have to not really think about how sexist that joke was just now. Like, it takes all that stuff away, which I really like. I like that a lot about the director's son's cut, including some extra added sound effects. For example, during the scene where ERIK uses the cloak of invisible on the girl's father, they added in a little sound effect at the beginning when he puts the cloak on, a little like magic sparkly sound effect. And that is so helpful to lend that scene to what it actually is, because in the original, there is no sound effect there. It's just, they just put the cloak on his head. So for a little bit, you're confused too. And you're like, why doesn't he see him? What the fuck is going on? And you don't actually pick it up until about the same time ERIK does. But in this director's son's cut, they make it a lot more clear and a lot more, like, punchy, I guess. Like, it's a lot more, you pick up on the bit super quickly, and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that's funny. And same with just some missing context later on. Like, on the boat, Loki stabs ERIK's arm, but in the original you can't really tell because there's no sound effect for it. They just show him go like this to his arm with a knife, so you don't really know that he actually got hit. It looks like he misses, but in the director's son's cut, they added in a sound effect to make it so that you see that it hits him. And I love the added sound effects and stuff, and the revamped visuals of Asgard is really nice, but then there's things where it is a problem. Like, throughout most of the director's son's cut, you can hear the dialogue better because it's redubbed, but sometimes that is a mistake and goes really, really bad. Like, the scene where the king of High Brazil is sinking into the water is so much funnier in the original, because the redubbed version just sounds kind of like shit. The original version actually sounds like he's sinking into the water and continuing to speak as he goes under and stuff. It's great.
King High Brazil is sinking.
Well, my dear, I think you'll find it's all a question of what you want to believe in, and I happen to have more experience in these matters than you do, I think.
But even stuff like on the boat, the girl is like, do you believe that I love you? I don't care if you love me, but do you believe that I love you? And in the director's son's cut, there's genuinely just some missing dialogue there that you do not get. And I don't mean like, oh, they cut out the dialogue. I mean, you literally see ERIK go like, but you don't hear anything. It's fucked up. And stuff like that kind of makes me be like, oh, but the original is better. And I'm so conflicted because they're like fighting. They're like right here with each other. But then I feel like I have to give the director's son's cut a little bit of a higher score because it does cut out these gross scenes that make me kind of hate the movie. Because I love this movie. It's super nostalgic. It's super good visually. I love looking at it. I love watching it. But then these moments hit you, and they hit you like a brick of hatred, and a brick of like bigotry, and just like the worst shit ever just hits you on the side of their face, and you're like, oh my god. Why? And it's nothing that bad. It's not like they're like, oh, fuck black people or anything like that in the show. Like, it's never anything that bad. But seeing this Asian racist slave master just be like, oh, you white people and all your white people stuff, and it's not like me and my Asian stuff. It's like, okay, bro, what are we doing here? And it's very, very, it just throws you off. It throws you off, and it makes you not feel good. And they are not funny. Like, I know that they thought that these jokes were funny at the time, but they are not funny jokes. And it's sad because all the other jokes land super hard and are super good, but these ones just do not land. And maybe they do, maybe I'm just being sensitive, but I don't know. These types of jokes don't hit me like that. They just make me be like, oh, you just said like a gross word. Good, I guess. Like you did a gross topic. Wow. Great. But I don't laugh at any jokes like that. I've never found jokes like that funny, like the 9/11 jokes or even the newer Jeffrey Epstein jokes. I don't think those are funny. I'm not laughing at those ever. So I might not be the target demographic here. And maybe these jokes are funny to people out there. But as a total, I think this movie is really good. I think I would give it like an 85. I can't give it anything higher than that though, because of these problematic jokes that I don't like and that kind of like drag the movie down a little bit. But overall, really great movie. Really good movie with some really funny bits that I kind of just love. And a visual style that is genuinely like impressive. And a cast that goes insane. I mean, I know I said this before, but Tim Robbins is a pretty like famous actor, the one who plays ERIK. And Mickey Rooney with over 300 movies, and even people that we don't even really see, like Neil Innes. He plays like an old guy, I think, during the movie, but he makes all the music for this movie in the original cut. And he was someone that did like basically all the music for Monty Python. He was like I think he's called like the 7th Python or something. And they had a whole documentary about him that I skimmed through where he's like accidentally finding himself making music for all these movies and stuff. Really cool stuff. But we also do have some problematic stuff here, like the actor for Loki being in a Hitler movie called Hitler the Comedy Years. And I have to assume that they're not saying Hitler the Comedy Years in the sense of making fun of him. So, you know, very concerning. It's not it's not just hateable as a character, but also hateable as a person. Loki is genuinely one of the most hateable villains I've ever seen. And I kind of fuck it. I kind of fuck it. I kind of fuck with it is what I meant to say. Jesus Christ. I do kind of fuck with it though, because if you want a hateable villain, you can make them just like a shitty person. And obviously it's coincidence that he was a shitty person in real life too, but Loki throughout the entire movie is genuinely just like a little rat that you hate. And like, he's awful. He's awful. He's terrible. Even the villagers, when they think that he's a good guy, are like, oh, Loki, fuck that guy. And of course, that's like a joke about Kettle Blacksmith fucking hard and fucking the whole village. But, you know, that's whatever. I don't really care about that joke. It is kind of funny, though, that Kettle Blacksmith is just sleeping around the whole village. And so when he goes on the boat, they're like, oh, you're bringing him too? What the fuck? But yeah, overall, great movie. Definitely worth a watch. Just probably skip the intro scene and, you know, be ready for them to throw some curveballs at you throughout the movie. But overall, I like this movie. I like it a lot. I love the cheesy graphics. I love the cheesy design of all these, like, different things around the place. Even just the sets are so beautiful to me, and I love them. I love everything about it, except for the fucked up stuff. I don't love that. I hate it, actually. But if you wanted to go watch a crazy movie with your friends, go check this out. It's pretty interesting. If you really like Norse mythology, I say it's definitely worth a watch. After playing through God of War Ragnarok and watching this, I was like, ooh, I know them, ooh. And it is way different than something like God of War Ragnarok. I mean, Thor is a fucking 12-year-old, but it is really cool though, and I like it a lot. So go check it out, go watch it, go give it a look. And with that being said, I'm gonna end this video. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. This was the 1,000 subscriber special because I've been saving this movie for a special movie review. I've been saving it for a special moment. And we got a couple other movies like that we have in the back pocket saved for specific milestones, including a really, 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 really special one that is being saved for 1 million. That's right, we got the goals set high up in the air. But if we do ever reach 1 million subscribers, we will release, like, my favorite movie of all times movie review. So up until that point, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Go look at Patreon, free stuff. If anything in this video was black and white, it will not be on Patreon, so go check it out. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, peace out.